Hello, I'm Sharon Elliott, CEO of Ethiopiaid Australia. As I'm sure you've seen, there's been a great deal of media attention directed towards Ethiopia over these last few months. This actually stems from the conflict between the ruling party in the Tigrayan region of Ethiopia, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and the Ethiopian government. And this has been going on now since November last year. Since that time, we've seen thousands of deaths. Over 2 million people have been displaced. Homes have been destroyed. Hospitals and health centres looted. We've also seen a 6-week communication blackout, and there have been multiple reports of human rights abuses, including rape and mass shootings. Now, even after the communication blackout was lifted, it has been really difficult to know with certainty as to what's happening in the country now. We've seen many conflicting accounts of what's going on. But I have to say there are two things that I think we really do know with certainty. Now, one of them is that we do need to have an impartial investigation into the conflict, but also that I am here and that Ethiopiaid is here. We're here for the people and to make sure that we're here to help those that are most vulnerable. And that's why I wanted to tell you about something else that's happening right now. This is another tragedy, and it's endangering hundreds of thousands. Except this one the media is keeping much more silent about. Now, this is going on in Afar. Afar shares an eastern border with Tigray, and this is a crisis that's not politically motivated but is born from one natural disaster after another. Now, in Afar now they've seen 3 years of drought. This has killed off herds of livestock, which are the lifeblood of the region. They've seen biblical plagues of locusts, which started during the beginning of 2020 and have decimated remaining grazing land there. And we've had never before seen floods that have happened between August and October last year and have destroyed whole communities and hundreds of family homes. And then this year, on January the 18th, the locusts came back. So the reports I've been getting in now every week are just devastating. It makes really awful reading. So on January the 18th, 2021, the first phone calls came in that the dreaded locust swarms were coming back. Some of the words that have come in these reports are quite confronting. We've been told that the sun was blotted out by the swarms. We've heard reports of fully grown beasts as big as birds. People have said that it's punched fear and dread back into the hearts of the herdsmen. Bidju and Kori, two of the villages, have now sunk into dangerous thirst levels. And we're being told that women are having to walk 12 to 14 hours each day to collect water. Now, these locusts have consumed the pasture, which has left animal herds with no fodder and families with no food. Without help now, these children will endure stunted growth, which will be crippling them. As of mid-January, 89,000 Tigrayan refugees have fled into Afar following the conflict in their home region. This is 89,000 people that are fleeing with nothing but the clothes on their back. They've nothing to go back to. Homes and businesses have been looted and crops and harvests have been burnt. Now, these people are fleeing into a region where food is scarce, water is unavailable, and the local economy and markets have been decimated by disaster. Our local partners, ABDA, are doing all that they can. So they've had emergency water trucking in place for 80 days. Now, this is the only source of water for these remote communities. We are really holding out hope for rains in April. Still nothing yet, but we can still hold out hope. 605 refugee households have been provided now with cooking, sleeping, food and hygiene items. And we do expect a further 2,000 households to receive support over the next couple of months. ABDA have also provided nutrition supplements that are for pregnant and for breastfeeding mothers. And there's also been animal fodder and vet supplies put in place to save herds. As said before, that these herds are the real sort of core of the communities here. But even with nothing, we've seen the Afar locals have an amazing generosity of spirit. They've been bringing the Tigrayan neighbours into their homes, sharing what little food, water and soap they have, even sending scouts out into the forests along the borders to find and physically carry the Tigrayans away from danger when they're too weak to walk. Now, some of these Afar households have received food or financial aid from the government, but what was available was very quickly exhausted. Now, you'll know as well as I do how devastating the drought is. We see it far too often here in Australia, but at least we have the government, the media, and giant supermarkets like Coles and Woolies, and of course other passionate Aussies coming together to help out in times of emergency. But the people of Afar are largely alone. Their herds are dead, families are starving, and children are stunted. But this is all happening in silence because the Australian media is silent on this tragedy that is happening right now. Now, I have had a number of calls and emails from supporters, sometimes wondering how our areas of work have been affected by everything that's happening, the Tigray conflict, the Afar crisis, and of course COVID around the country. So it is a big strain in Afar. ABJA are fighting to provide this emergency relief, but of course doing it alongside long-term recovery to help build up infrastructure, economy and resilience. So this is the kind of thing we're funding, and what of course you can give to too if you do want to help. Now, we haven't currently been funding any active project partners in Tigray over the last year, but we will be resuming funding for our past partner Dignity period. They provide sanitary kits so that girls can stay in school, but following COVID lockdowns, hospitals and health centres looted in the area, sanitary items are in hugely short supply, so we will be supplying to basically anyone who is in need of these items. Now, of course, COVID has put a strain on many areas of our work. It has seen vulnerable communities like Deborah Baham pushed further into poverty due to lockdowns and job closures. And there's been many people that have been fearful to leave their home and have then not accessed healthcare when they've needed it, which has included palliative care and maternal health. Now, especially in the area of maternal health, our project partners, Healing Hands of Joy, weren't able to send out their Safe Motherhood ambassadors to find and help those women who are suffering from fistula. Now, this of course has resulted in a backlog of women who are suffering in isolation when they just really shouldn't have to. But of course, despite these setbacks and tragedy, all project partners have been fighting to help those under their care. And you, the Ethiopiaid community, have played a huge part in making this possible. And I really do want to say a big thank you for your generous and continued support. You really are the reason why the most vulnerable in our world today will have a better future ahead, even in the face of disease, disaster and conflict. Now, if you want to find out any more information on the crisis in Afar, do take a look at our website. There's a lot more information that you can see on there. And I'll also be sending out more info shortly on other pressing areas of need as well. But until then, thank you again, and I really do wish health and hope to you all.